CVE.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Marcus Lee.
And I'm Andrella.
And this is the Next Level Podcast. Yes, I said it, the Next Level Podcast. So let's get straight into it, man. Let's kind of tell them, why did we choose this podcast to be called the Next Level Podcast?
Well, we chose the podcast to be called the Next Level Podcast because we'd like to help you get to the next level just as well as we like to help ourselves get to the next level.
Exactly, because we're work in progress like you guys are work in progress. All right. So speaking of that, that'll be a good segue to talk about our topic for today. And that topic is failure. Failure. Okay. All right. So why did we choose failure? I feel like failure is something that if you're trying to get to the next level, it is super important for you to understand what failure is and how to overcome failure, how not to let failure stop you from anything and all that good stuff. So let's get very technical. And why don't we read the Webster's definition of failure?
Well, I looked it up, and the Webster's definition of failure is lack of success, a falling short, or a fracturing or giving away under stress.
Okay. So which one of those do you kind of identify with out of those topics or out of those definitions?
Well, I think everybody has their a time in their lives when they've experienced failure. So which one I can identify with? Probably all of them.
Okay, yeah, no, I would probably
At
say
some
the
point,
same.
right.
I would probably say the same. So I like to really open up this podcast. I feel like people really help connect when we know like people that are on high levels in this universe or high levels in this world that have overcome failure. So I want to start this segment off with, did you know? So these are people that you may or may have not known who failed. And I'm going to read two people, and Mom, maybe if you want to improvise and just read another person, then we can. But the first person that came to mind was Walt Disney. And I have it on my computer here. Walt Disney was fired from his as a news editor because they said that he lacked imagination and good ideas. And if you guys know who Walt Disney is, he is the Mr. Idea, Mr. Imagination. Walt Disney created the Disneyland, Disney World, and the whole Disney business. So that was actually quite interesting. And the second person was Colonel Sanders. And Colonel Sanders was actually really interesting to me because I didn't know this. Colonel Sanders, the KFC guy. I didn't quite understand Colonel Sanders.
Gotcha.
But Colonel Sanders, he was fired from a lot of jobs. And it wasn't until he was 62 years old that he decided that he wanted to keep going. He wanted to keep his idea or his dream of having this special chicken recipe. He wanted to get this franchise pretty much at 62 years old. So he was working regular jobs and doing everything he had to do. He retired, and at 62 he finally got the answer yes. And this was after trials and tribulations. He finally got the yes. So that's Colonel Sanders. KFC, if you guys didn't know, shout out to KFC. So why don't you kind of give another example of a person who overcame failure?
Okay, another person that I looked up that overcame failure was one of my role models, as we talked about a few weeks back, and that would be Oprah Winfrey. She was publicly fired from her first TV job as an anchor woman in Baltimore for getting too emotionally invested in her stories. And as we know today, she's not a failure.
Yep.
So there are steps that's going to help you succeed and get past that failure, that area of failure that you might find yourself in when you fall short.
Yep, I definitely agree. And like we said, failure is something that is very, very, it's important. When it comes to business, it's important to life. It's important to every aspect of this universe. I think that failing is something that, as you know, that we all can learn from. So actually, I want you to kind of just share an example of when did you fail? Give the people a time when you failed, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, so yeah, I can relate to one of the definitions. This is the fourth definition actually from the Webster's book of definitions, which is a failing in business. They highlighted bankruptcy, and I just want to give you guys a little nugget about bankruptcy. When you fail in your lives or in area of finance and you have to file bankruptcy, many people are terrified of bankruptcy as they feel it takes 7 years to recover from wounds due to one's credit. But the fact is today, things have changed drastically from years ago. You don't have to wait 7 years anymore to recover from bankruptcy. You can recover in as little as 1 year. There are some steps that you have to take in order to do that, and we'll share that with you on one of our next podcasts or upcoming podcasts. But back to me, sharing one of my stories of failure. Everybody experienced failure, but my story is my business. We started a business, but before we actually succeeded at the business that we are currently in, we experienced 2 times when we set out to look to start the business. We found locations, and we actually thought that was the business or the place that we were going to start our business up at, and turns out that we couldn't get it for one reason or another. We lost thousands of dollars 2 times, and but that didn't stop us. We just continued on until we actually succeeded with the 3rd time when we found a location. We moved forward, just kept persevering, and we went ahead, and we actually ended up succeeding in starting the business that we're currently in right now.
And where is that business, and what kind of business
that would
is
be
that?
Lee's Cuddles and Care, and it's a daycare center located at 6100 West North Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, ages 6 weeks to 6 years old.
There we go. If I kind of had to think of a example of when I failed so many times in my life. But I think failure is a learning lesson.
You're only 25.
Yeah, I know, and I failed since probably the age of 1. So I feel like we all fall, but getting back up is the most important thing. Like I said, I really had to think about it. When did I fail? I think football is something that is a constant learning lesson of failure. So I guess one of the games that I played college football and high school football, and one of the games that we played. We planned for this game. It was a rivalry week. I still didn't say it right, but we planned for this game. A lot of fans were coming. It was going to be a packed house, and we had it down. We were executing the plan flawlessly, but something didn't happen. One of the players didn't do what they were supposed to do at the time, and we were down a touchdown, and then we went down 2 touchdowns because the same thing happened over and over again. So I thought that was like a failure for me. Like, we planned this thing of this football game that we had. It was a big rivalry. We were down 2 touchdowns, and I thought to myself that for sure we're going to lose. But actually, that was just a 2-second story. But then I thought to myself, okay, you know what? This can be a failure, but just because we failed at these 2 plays doesn't mean that it's over. So, we stuck through it. We kept fighting, and we overcame. We scored 2 touchdowns. We scored 3 touchdowns, and actually ended up beating them at the end. And I thought that is a good example of life. That in life, sometimes there are going to be situations where you may perceive it as failure because things didn't go according to how you planned things. But, at the end of the day, if you keep fighting and you keep scratching and clawing and going towards, your goal, at the end of the day, it will come into fruition. So I really think that that's a good example of failure to me. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of our personal experiences. We want you guys to comment and share your experiences on what failure is. And if, please, we want you guys to be more vocal and kind of talk. We want to turn this into a community type of thing. So now we'll kind of go into, we'll finish it up. So let's wrap it up. Let's talk about steps to overcome. Considering that this is the next level, we want to get people to the next level of overcoming failure. So, Mom, why don't you go ahead and start out with maybe let's give four steps of overcoming failure.
Yeah, so 4 steps for me to overcome failure. 1 is to accept and stay positive. Another would be let out your frustrations, whatever you're frustrated about that didn't work out in the past with whatever that plan was. Just let it out. Because if you don't share it with somebody or just get it off your chest, you're just going to just make it worse. Mm-hmm. Be brutally honest with yourself and the situation that you're in. I mean, really be realistic whether or not it's something that you can move forward with or if you need to make some changes. And most importantly, I want to elaborate on this one, which is fail forward. I didn't say fall forward. I said fail forward.
What does that even mean? How do you fall forward?
No, not fall forward. Fail forward.
Okay.
Fail forward. Fail forward. Fail forward to me means learn, persevere, and reset. You need to learn from your mistakes. Do not dwell on them. Persevere by continuing to press forward, and reset. Hit that reset button and ask yourself, what next? Focus and move ahead. So those are my 4 definitions or 4 steps to overcoming failure.
Okay, I mean, great steps. I think that those are great steps. And to add on to that, if I had to give 4 steps, I actually wrote these down. Mine are pretty much the same. I said there is no such thing as failure. If you believe that you failed, then I believe that at that point you're going to stop. So you can't believe that there's a such thing as failure. Just understand that this is a learning lesson. So after you have recognized that you quote unquote have failed, I say that you should stop and think about what went wrong. Because a lot of times, we can get defeated just by the fact that something didn't happen. So the third thing is to figure out, what do you do next? Okay, where do I go next from here? All right, whatever I planned didn't go according to plan. It didn't work out according to plan. So where do we figure it out? Now that I see what went wrong, where do I go next? Make that correction. And this is my 4th and most importantly, get your butt up and do it again. Because a lot of times people, like I said, will get discouraged from what may seem like they have failed, and they won't just try it again. But the true definition of success is just constantly doing things over and over and over until you get the outcome that you wanted.
Okay. So I wanted to share one thing that it's a familiar saying that people should have heard or should hear, or just want to share that, which is nothing beats a failure but a try. You ever heard that, Marcus?
No, I've never heard it, but I liked it a lot.
That's a very popular saying that people have been using for years and years. But again, I'm going to say it. Okay. Nothing beats a failure but a
T-R-Y.
A try.
That's
right.
All right. Well, we want to close this thing out. We want to thank you guys for watching. And we want to thank everybody that gives us constant feedback on what we're doing and all of those good things. And again, we want to encourage you guys to share these videos, because one simple share can help somebody with the topics that we're talking about today. So if anybody's dealing with failure, you may not know. Maybe one of your Facebook friends or Twitter friends or whoever you're sharing this on could be touched by this, and this could maybe change their lives. So I encourage you guys to share, and I want to share, all that good stuff. And I want to thank you guys for coming into the Next Level Podcast.
The Next Level Podcast.
I'm Marcus Lee.
And I'm Andrella.
And we are out.